Hello and welcome to another edition of Counting on Law. The Economist recently advised its readers to keep a glass of water and 1000 milligrams of paracetamol within reach before visiting an Indian government website. The piece caused a fair amount of outrage in India. The newspaper must thank its stars that it's unlikely to get sued because then its owners, or maybe the writer of the piece Ashoka, would have had to navigate Indian court websites. The visa portal that The Economist was mocking is, in comparison, a pleasant experience at the spa. Now, over 5 crore cases lie pending in Indian courts, and this is the most well written number in Indian law. There are also shelves of committee reports on access to justice, and legal scholars have commented on fairness, bias, poor judgments, and now the use of artificial intelligence. Today, I'm going to speak to you about access to data. Not the kind of data researchers need for policy making or administrators need for optimizing court operations. That's a different battle for another day. The data in question that I'm going to speak to you about is more banal, but in some ways it's far more important. It's the basic information that a litigant or lawyer needs to follow their case in a court. Now, let's say you're one of those unnamed millions who are part of those crores of pending cases. Maybe you're a small company that has sued a larger buyer for non payment of bills. Maybe you're an employee who sued their employer for unpaid salary, or you're a senior citizen who's fighting the government in court for their pension. Now, let's assume you've been told that your case is likely to be heard tomorrow. What do you do the previous day? Perhaps you want to find out where your case stands. Is it listed? Who's the judge? Will it be taken up? What really happened at the last hearing? What's the objective of the next one? You can call your lawyer to check, but chances are the average lawyer is also struggling with the exact same questions. Every day in this country, a scramble begins at 6 p.m. because that's when the next day's cause list, which is the court's daily schedule, is finalized and uploaded, or at least it should be. Now, you'll enter the court website and you'll wait. The page will load endlessly, or maybe it times out, or it produces much captcha that you try and copy down before the page dies anyway. Now you face an almost metaphysical question posed by the court website. Is the server down? Did you get the captcha wrong? Do I refresh? Do I wait? So you do what everyone does, right? You refresh, you retype, you refresh. And at the precise hour when every other litigant or lawyer in the state is trying to do the exact same thing. Over the last few months, we ran a small experiment where we pointed an automated monitor at 3 websites and we started checking them every 15 minutes. The National Company Law Tribunal, or the NCLT, the portal was unreachable roughly 1 in 5 visits. We almost had this running joke that the website is almost human in its behavior, right? It's really nice and enthusiastic and eager to work on a Monday morning, but by midweek it's really exhausted and burnt out and just gives up. The Bombay High Court's website, which is serving arguably the country's busiest high court, failed nearly 4 times during court hours as it did overnight. Now, once it loads, finding the case details isn't easy. Users must possess either specific information such as the registration number, the filing number, or the CNR. And if you wanted to search by the name of the litigant or the name of your lawyer, you often need to specify the exact court complex the case is listed in. And this is in a system where neither the numbering nor spellings are really standardized. A basic search feature that we take for granted in almost any modern website, it's the first barrier to access for when you're engaging with a court website. Now, we recently surveyed a handful of lawyers, researchers, and litigants about their experience. And it's a small sample of about 70 respondents, but almost all their concerns were similar. There was almost like this unanimous agreement that when it came to navigating the court website and doing some of the basic tasks, like a majority of the respondents encountered captchas, over-demanding search forms, error-prone responses, and session timeouts, and they experienced this at least half the time. Nearly 60% said such glitches disrupted their workflow, while more than half said that it impeded access to critical court information when they needed it the most. One of our more disgruntled respondents captured the indignity and tedium of it all rather eloquently. During important work, I really don't want to waste time identifying which images have traffic signals or bicycles or bridges in them before I can log in. Surely better alternatives exist. Now, most courts in India have two websites. For example, there's a national portal for district courts, and then every district court gets its own website. Both of them are built by the exact same National Informatics Center or NIC, but they have slightly different navigation. There's an integrated High Court Services portal, and then the individual High Courts of Bombay, Delhi, and Madras all run their own websites, and these two do not always agree with each other. The cause list may be live on one website, the case status updated on another, and maybe orders and judgments on a third, and practitioners over time have figured this out. But these sites are redesigned every few years, and now the old links disappear without notice. So now let's say our entrepreneur explorer, lawyer, or litigant gets through this maze. The data that greets them is sometimes stale, some of it is outright wrong. Yesterday's hearing may surface next week because there's a lag in uploading stuff. Cases disposed of months ago may still appear as pending because nobody's bothered to update the status. Orders from someone else's case may be uploaded against yours. For years, the older version of the NCLT website cluttered case pages with connected matters, and these matters had no connection to the main case at all. Now, this has been measured, studied, and written about. Researchers Devendra Damli and Tushar Anand systematically analyzed eCourt's data in 2020, and they found missing fields, malformed entries, and outright incorrect data wherever they looked. Our experience has been similar. In one instance, we observed the court uploading an order related to a civil writ petition against a criminal writ petition because they were both numbered the same. In another matter, the website simply added judges to the roster whose names do not appear on the orders at all. You might be tempted to blame this on this hallucination on LLMs, but this is really old data. Now, there's an infamous story from about 2 decades ago where Google tested out 41 shades of blue before settling on the right one. I know it sounds absurd, but there's a logic to it because Google operates in a ferociously competitive market where even a marginal improvement at the fringes is worth real money. A court website is the exact opposite. It's a monopoly with a perfectly captive audience. Litigants and lawyers can yell themselves hoarse, but there are very few people listening, if any at all. And even if some kind-hearted judge or justice were to take notice, they would themselves be at the mercy of the NIC. And all this that I'm telling you might be the good part of the system. At least there are some attempts to standardize reporting across district courts, high courts, and the Supreme Court through the National Judicial Data Grid. Beyond this lies the wild west of tribunals and consumer courts and lokayuktas and other forums. Now, tracing a dispute across multiple courts is already difficult because the moment a case is transferred, even within the same court complex, the case is renumbered. Try and follow a case from its first hearing, through trial, through the High Court appeal, and onto the Supreme Court, and you'll begin to understand why Camus imagined Sisyphus happy. This is the state of court websites in 2026. In a country that builds software for some of the world's finest companies, the court, the judiciary, which is supposed to be a co-equal branch of government, runs on websites that would make even experienced bureaucrats tear their hair in frustration. So now our lawyer, nearing midnight, does what lawyers and litigants across the country have done for so many years. She stops trusting what's on the screen and makes a call to the court clerk.